right. I'm currently on the phone with everybody from Board of Directors. They're another group that reached out to me about the current interview sessions going on. So I'm going to go ahead and give them the chance to introduce themselves.
I'm Heather, and I play bass.
I'm Alex, and I play the guitar and I sing.
I'm Andrew. I play drums.
All right, perfect. So let's kind of each take a turn going into the details about how you first got into music. Tell me a little bit about, when music kind of first came into your life and what about it, connected with you personally that made you want to pursue it.
Are you pointing at me?
We're going to go around in circles.
Music first came into my life probably as soon as I was able to climb up onto the piano bench at my grandmother's house. And it was something that I was always drawn to. Never really pursued seriously until about a year and a half ago when I joined this band.
I guess for me, I really can't remember a time when it wasn't a part of my life. Nobody in my family ever played music or weren't musicians. There weren't instruments around. They listened to music, but that was about it. I just always wanted to do it. I don't have a better explanation for it than that. And I think that I didn't have any natural aptitude for it, but I just wanted to do it anyway. So I figured that was a good indication because I wasn't drawn to it just because I was good at it. I wasn't good at it. So, and I've just continued staying with it for my whole life, basically.
I think my folks always had music playing like all the time with LPs from their 70s bands and stuff. And I grew up in the 80s, so there was a lot of new music coming out at that point, a lot of bubblegum kind of fancy new wave stuff. I've always been into it. Like Alex said, there's not been a time where I didn't like it or didn't want to be listening to it. But I think about 20 years ago, give or take, when I started playing music in local punk bands, so just never really stopped.
Okay. So the next kind of follow-up question to that is, what do you think it was about the instrument that you play that drew you to that instrument?
Ooh.
I'm starting.
Go right ahead.
Okay. I, for whatever reason, decided a little under 2 years ago that I wanted to try to play bass guitar. And I was just drawn to the instrument for some unknown reason to me. And I picked it up and I started playing it in December of 2022 and basically cut my teeth on it in this band. And have never looked back.
I don't know if there was anything about it. I guess guitar. I don't know. Like I said, I can't think of a time when I didn't want to play, but nobody ever encouraged me to do it, really. It was just kind of there. I probably would have seen it first at church, I guess. Would have been the first time I saw somebody play guitar. It was more interesting than the organ because I didn't really understand how it worked. There's another facet to it. You don't just press a button and it makes sound. You're going to have to do these weird shapes with your hands, and there's strings that are vibrating in a more visible way. I guess I was kind of fascinated by figuring out how people were able to do that, if anything. But ultimately, I just kind of liked the way that it sounded.
I think that I chose drums out of laziness, thinking that it was going to be the easiest thing to learn. And ever since that just seemed like to be because I was always having ADD as a kid and tapping my hands and feet all the time, so it just seemed natural to do it. I play guitar and bass here and there, but not anything I would ever actually record. But yeah, it's just because it seemed easiest, and that was wrong.
Yeah, definitely. And then also not the easiest to move either.
No, not so much.
Okay, perfect. All right. So once you guys kind of figured out the instruments that you did want to play, how did you kind of inform the decision of what type of music you want to play? Obviously, we all have our own influences that we kind of gravitate to, but that doesn't always translate into the bands that we end up in. So give me a little bit of information about that.
I'm going to pass on this for a minute.
I can say I think my parents were always pretty open-minded as far as the music they listened to, but there definitely wasn't a lot of punk rock or anything like that, or anything even close to it in my house growing up. in the early 2000s, they started putting music into video games, and my brother really liked to play Madden football. And that was when all this, you grew up listening to like whatever was on the radio and whatever my parents listened to. And then all of a sudden you're hearing songs that had screaming in it, and songs that were, really pop punk stuff. Some that was more like metal stuff, some, rap, but things that just weren't in my house growing up. And I think it was just kind of fascinating that there was this whole other world that we weren't even really getting exposed to. And so it wasn't something that I really connected with other people over. I think a lot of people talk about the sense of community they have over it, but it was a really solitary exercise for me for a long time because there weren't a lot of other kids that were into it. But I think that over time, it just became something that I had a sense of connection to the songs and the people that wrote them more so than the other people that were into it. And then as I got older, I found those other people that shared that interest.
I think my folks, they always had like classic rock playing. My dad would always like some of the noisier stuff like Zeppelin and Pink Floyd and stuff like that. Early on, my brother started listening to punk rock stuff like mid-'80s, early 80s. And that always caught my attention just because the energy was so much more than, say, Led Zeppelin or certainly more than Pink Floyd. Through punk rock stuff, I started listening to metal and started to appreciate that a lot. But I just kind of always really stuck with punk stuff.
I came to punk in junior high through Green Day's Dookie. It was the first time I'd heard anything like that at all. And it was the first time that I was really turned on to seeking out music to listen to for myself and not just sort of passively listening to what was going on in the background.
Awesome. So the next step to that question is, how did this band come together? Did you find everybody on Craigslist or like Facebook? Did you all know each other from school? How did you guys all come together?
These all back pages of Craigslist, really.
We're brothers and sisters.
It started, I guess, because when I was about 29, I started playing songs at open mics, and I just sort of made a decision that I was going to commit wholeheartedly to making music and take it as far as it would go. Not really having any understanding of how to start a band, though, because I figured that by my age, the people who were going to be doing music professionally were already doing it, and the people who weren't doing it professionally had families and careers and weren't trying to drop out and just start a band. So I just did it by myself for a long time and figured I could start a fictitious band called the Board of Directors and record all the music for it and then just hire people to play shows, basically. And so that was how I originally reached out to Heather and ultimately to Andrew later on, under the assumption that the band might be just sort of a rotating cast of characters. Then I would sort of be just writing, being that driving force behind it. But I was surprised to find that there were other people that wanted to do it to the same extent that I did. So the band has changed a lot into a much more collaborative situation than it started.
That's great. Did anybody else want to chime in on that, or is that kind of the story in a nutshell?
It's pretty nutshell story. Yeah, I think that's about right.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, tell me about what you guys are working on. Are you in the studio making an album, or are you just focusing on shows? What sort of phase and release are you at right now?
We just finished recording something back at the beginning of July, right before we went on tour. And it's in the process of, we just got test presses back for it, and it's in the process of being physically manufactured, and there's going to be a release to go along with that in December of this year. It's an EP called Board Music for Bored People, and it's our homage to the Fat Records comp, Short Music for Short People. It's 5 one-minute songs. We're putting it out on 7-inch, and we're going to have a digital release for it as well. There's going to be a whole bunch of stuff coming out related to that. But that's our next thing that's going to be forthcoming. We'll have a lot more coming out about that, announcements related to that soon.
So once that comes out, are you guys looking at booking a tour or just doing some local shows? What's the plan for after the release?
We've been doing more and more road gigs. I think that there's a period of time early on when you first start a band that it kind of doesn't matter how often you play your own city because nobody's there anyway. But we've thankfully progressed to a point where people do occasionally come and listen to us play. So we are a little bit more tactful about how often we play in Cincinnati. So a lot more other cities have been opened up to us just through touring and doing these sort of weekend warrior runs or longer tours like that. We know a lot more people in lots more places, and it's fun to get out and be in new cities and see new audiences and sort of expand your reach that way. So it'll be a lot of that, I think, coming up in 2025.
Awesome. And I assume each of you is a little bit excited to kind of get out there and see new places, play new stages and stuff.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Half the fun of playing music is to play in front of others who appreciate it and other bands who do similar things and have the same lofty ambitions that you do as far as making music and putting it out there. So yeah, I like traveling enough to the extent that I like going out and playing music in other cities. Absolutely.
And then this is a little bit of a tangent question, but have each of you participated in bands that have been out and to play in other cities as well?
We've all been in other bands. I'm trying to think if I ever played another city when I was in a band that I was in. It was pretty much always local, the stuff that I was doing before. I don't think I ever traveled for a show.
Yeah, same. I've never been out of the city until this band here.
Same with me.
All right. Well, that's super exciting then. You all kind of get to experience that together then.
I guess what I'm saying is I blame these guys.
Well, they might also be your ticket out, so don't blame them too hard. Awesome. So tell me about what is going on in the future. Do you think after you do a few shows, you guys will come up with a new album, or what do you kind of see for yourself going into like 5 years or something?
Oh, geez, 5 years. I don't know about 5 years. I can say that in the near future, we do have another full length that's been demoed and hasn't been properly recorded. And we're trying to be somewhat strategic about how and when we record that and release it. But I think there's always more songs queued up after the thing that we've released. I don't think we've ever really been in a position where the most recent thing we released is just every song that we've written. There's always more, because I think that it's kind of better that way. If you don't have to you're not in a time crunch to finish writing something, you kind of give yourself time to just put the stuff out that's ready to be put out and make sense together and has some cohesive structure to it, rather than just here's all the songs we wrote in the last year. So we're trying to stick to that as much as possible, but there's lots of side quests that come up along the way for things that we didn't know we were going to be doing, and then end up having new songs and other reasons to release them. So that's always exciting too.
Yeah, definitely. And everybody else is on board with that? You're excited for any of the demos and putting out any of that new material?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Got lots of exciting stuff coming.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything we've done that I don't really enjoy. So, and even like the demos and pieces of songs and here and there, that's all I'm on board with all that. It's great.
So I should have asked this earlier when we were talking about it, but tell me about what your recording process is like. Do you guys record in like your project studio in a home, or are you renting studio space?
We're a strictly kitchen core band. We've recorded most of the last EP in the kitchen of my apartment, but the only thing we don't have the facilities to do that with is drums. So for that, we go to a proper studio and record it. But yeah, we do most of it at home, and we're fortunate enough to live in a time where that's feasible and it doesn't sound like absolute dog crap. So that helps a lot. And then we have a really talented and hardworking producer that works with us named Eric Tuffinson at Moonlight Studios in Fairfield. Give him a plug there. Yeah. He does a really amazing job of taking our recordings and just putting that polish on them that it needs and being that second set of ears for us. And he's always been very helpful with that. But yeah, we record most of it ourselves.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, what are your guys' social medias? Where can people find you and check you out?
You can pretty much search Alex Kasznel on the board of directors and anywhere, and it'll come up. There's not a lot of other people in the world named Alex Kasznel, so it's a SEO decision ultimately to have my name in the band.
Sure. And then does anybody have any memories or anything that have been important to you that kind of keep you motivated and continue to want to pursue music?
I don't have any memories at all.
He's a goldfish.
What are you?
Memories from playing in this band, or just like...
Just in general, things that keep you motivated and engaged to continue to make music.
I don't have any specific memories. It's just it's just something that I can't imagine not doing now.
I have a one that when years ago back in the 90s, when 7 Seconds, punk band from Reno, probably everybody in the world knows them now, came to town. One of the I was at the show. It was a small venue, and they were playing songs off the first album that I ever heard from them, and I loved the album and loved the song they were singing. And I was up front just shouting and throwing my hands up and being a general idiot. And the singer Kevin gave me the mic and let me sing a verse of the song in reference, and that was such a ridiculously hyper charged moment in my life. And like, if I can do any fraction of that for anyone else who likes music and playing music and stuff, then my job's done. I'm happy with that.
Awesome. That's great. All right. Well, I always like to give the people that I interview the opportunity to put out their last word. So what's a message that each of you have that you want to share with people?
Words of wisdom, Alex?
Wisdom. Coming to me for wisdom.
Wisdom. Yes.
I guess if there is something that you want to do creatively or otherwise, and it has followed you throughout your life, and you can't seem to find yourself in a way that you could live without it, it's something that needs to be there just purely because you want to do it. I mean, it's usually a good sign that it's worth your time, and it's really easy to convince yourself that the things that are productive, in air quotes, are things that are for your career or that make you money or that are helpful to the other people to whom you have responsibilities. And those things are legitimate, but also I think it's important to treat the things that bring you contentment or joy with the same level of fervor that you do the other things in your life that are more practical, I guess you could say. So it's a long-winded way of saying if you want to make art, you can make art.
Here. I'd say as far as music goes, local music and bands and stuff you like, if you like the music, pardon me, if you're a music fan and any of the bands you enjoy to any extent are coming anywhere near you, go out to see them. Not even just like to get people to come out and see our band, which you should, but like support artists. Don't watch shows on your damn phone. Get out there and experience in person. It's a lot different. It's a lot more visceral, that's for sure.
It's cooler if you don't wear pants.
That's true.